Hey, there we are. Let me just get my screen set up. If you guys are watching at the beginning, you might want to fast forward through the first couple of minutes, just so I can set up my screen. Come on, pop-ups. Hey, Jane Rice. Kathy X50. Just give me a minute to set up the screen in the on the desktop. There's so many pop-ups on the desktop version. And then there's the ads on the desktop version, and I have to let those play through. And catch up my screen. Hey, Jewel Giacona. We got nobody from the posse here yet, the PI posse. No members yet. Those are my pips. You guys are my subscribers. But I know what you mean, Jewel Giacona. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm tired. It's mentally exhausting dealing with what I dealt with yesterday and today. But things are looking up. Yeah, thanks for asking, Kathy. She's still in the hospital, but they did the procedure today, and they were able to stop the bleeding. So we will see. She may be able to get out fairly quickly. I haven't talked to her yet since she came out of the anesthesia. But I have talked to the daughter and the son multiple times. Yeah, I know. She's made it. She's a lot older than me, but overall she's probably way healthier than I am because she hasn't gone through like stage 3 cancer. So she's had her moments, but she usually recovers quite quickly. We'll just have to see how it goes. But luckily she's not like in ICU or something like that. Wow, there's only 7 people in the room. I appreciate all 7 of you, but what is going on with the views? Oh, there's 8 people. I've been on the air for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. 8 people on a Sunday afternoon? What is going on? Is everybody like on summer vacation or something? Oh my gosh. Tavern Smith. Okay, Tavern. Welcome in, but no religion. So I'll just, I'll just let you know that, and then as long as you just don't post anything more like that, you'll be fine. If not, I'll have to take you out. Hey, Will Byers. Is somebody else going live right now? Everybody's on another channel? I mean, what's up? Oh, thank you, Musk Mayo. Okay, I'm just waiting for a few more people to come in so I can talk to you. There's not a whole lot to update, but I did read something that I thought was quite almost humorous on this Nolan Wells situation. And there's nothing new on Nancy today. I already checked before I came on the air. I mean, nothing. Just the same old stories being rehashed. Oh, geez, I gotta get more than 9 people in the room. No word on Nancy, no. And now we're down to 5. Like, what's going on? Is there a YouTube issue today? Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Because, you know, on Sunday I can have like 20,000 views. So I feel bad for her family. Me too. What is going on? Can you guys see me and hear me? Can somebody put something in the chat? Me hear YouTube. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. Wow, 6 minutes. This is crazy. Okay, I'm not sure what that's about, David. Kathy says, yes, you can see and hear me. Jules says she can see and hear me. I'm like, is YouTube broken today? And I felt obligated to go on since yesterday it was just about the medical situation. And it's not like that's still not going on, but things are looking up. I didn't get as much sleep as I would have liked because I got up early, and usually I'll take a nap after I wake up. I'll be like, I got to go back to sleep, but I didn't do that this morning because I wanted to find out how my friend was doing. I don't know what you're talking about, David. Yeah, no fake news here on this channel. Hey, Ashgash, welcome in. Wow, it's kind of like, I hate to start the video with like 8 of us, because then other people will come in later and say, what are we talking about? Hey, respect importance. Now there is a pip. Yeah, I changed the membership last night. It's still like the same price and everything, but a way to get people on my channel. Well, you know what? No clickbaity titles and fake news here, so that's just the way it is. Suzanne sent the star. Yeah, so respect importance. I updated it last night so that my pips, there's a silver level, a gold level, and a platinum level. And it's basically the same that I already have, but I had level 1, level 2, level 3. I erased all that, and now it's, you know, you're either a pip silver, a pip gold, or a pip platinum. Thank you for the floating heart. Appreciate that respect. And there are the custom channel emojis. Oh, they look so good on the screen. And I'm just seeing it on the cell, but the only thing on my screen, there's that little YouTube one, and I can see the tube that's in red, that's highlighted in red, but I can't really see the top part that is black because I'm seeing it through my hair. Thank you for the star. Appreciate that. Okay, I'll just get this started. This is just a little update from Nolan Wells. The article is titled, Nolan Wells' Death Wouldn't Be the First in Horn Island Waters. Local says current will humble you. Yeah, I think so. Oh, thank you for the sparkles. Nolan Wells' family may not be convinced he drowned off the coast of Horn Island, but some of the area locals say they wouldn't be surprised because the waters have claimed other lives. Definitely. Here's the deal. NBC News spoke to several people who regularly visit this area, all anonymously due to the media scrutiny around the mysterious case, including a boat operator who gave a rundown on the area's current. So not his boat operator, but just some random boat operator. That person said, I know people that have grown up out there and have died out there. It'll humble you very quickly. I don't care what kind of shape you're in. Those currents can get you, and before you even realize that you're in trouble, you're gone. Well, yeah, it's out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, you can drown in a lake or a river or a stream just from a current. This is like the Gulf of Mexico was like being out in the middle of the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean. Of course, Ben Crump, the attorney for the Wells family, has argued that it's unlikely Nolan drowned because he knew how to swim, which the boat operator here is basically saying doesn't guarantee anything. And you know what? This boat operator, whoever he or she is correct. People drown in the ocean every single day. That's why they have lifeguards at the beach, and some people still die. Even with the lifeguards and the boats, the boat that patrols besides the lifeguards that are in the lifeguard towers, people drown in swimming pools that can swim. It happens. Also talked to people who explained the culture around a Horn Island weekend, including how vacations often meet up with other groups and catch rides back with other friends. This would help explain Nolan choosing to stay behind at Horn Island at 3 p.m. on July 4th instead of heading back with his original group of pals, as they claim. They also had his phone, which some told NBC News is normal because it's a safe, dry place to keep it while you wade about in the water. Still, I don't think he would stay behind and not have his keys and his phone. As you know, Nolan was found dead on July 6th, and authorities have said they believe he drowned, though they are continuing to investigate. Yeah, we don't have any coroner's report as of yet. Crump and the Wells family have pushed for this investigation, voicing that they do not trust Mississippi authorities due to the history of the Deep South. I kind of feel the same way since I lived in the Deep South. But I'm not going to make this a racial thing. I said that in my last Nolan Wells video, that we're going to see what the autopsy reports say. Everything does sound suspicious because the friends just said, hey, he chose to stay back on the island with a girl, and they've identified that girl as someone named Katie, and apparently she made a statement that he left the island to go back on the boat with his friends. So you have two contradictory statements. One person saying he stayed on the island, and that person saying, no, that's not true. He went back with his friends to get on the boat. Well, they will during the autopsy. Couldn't they just check his lungs to see if there's any water in them? Yeah, they'll do that. Now, remember, he's been in the water for probably 2 days. But, yeah, they'll check all that during the autopsy. Now, just, I do assume they're going to say that he drowned. But usually with drownings, there's extenuating circumstances. Like on a death certificate, it might say primary cause of death drowning, but secondary cause, and it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be an injury, it could be a fall. There's all kinds of things, but this whole story does sound very, very sus. Will Byers says true. Curtis, are they your friends or are they just friendly? I don't know what you're talking about, Curtis. We're talking about Nolan Wells' case. I don't know what you're talking about, my friend. Curtis Shines, haven't seen you before. Do we just have the trolls in here today? I'm not saying that you're a troll, but, we're here to talk about true crime lately on my lives. Although my channel does cover other things. Respects just sounds very suspicious to me. It sounds suspicious to me too. Suspicious is H-E-double-L. Especially when the parents had a hard time getting the phone back and getting his keys back, and the boys were already back for hours before one of them called the parents to say, where is he? The whole thing sounds very sus. And before the parents or their, now lawyer could even get statements from those kids, all 3 kids lawyered up. Well, why do you lawyer up if you got nothing to hide? They've all got lawyers. Now, are they criminal lawyers? Are they civil lawyers? I don't know that. Respect importance. Yes, I think there's a lot more to the story than what is being said. Obviously, something happened out there. He went out with 3 friends and He never made it back to shore. And then nobody seemed to know where he was or why he wasn't on the boat, or was he on the boat, or... I know he was with this girl, and that girl was like, well, no, he wasn't with me anymore because he went to get back on the boat. Needing a lawyer says a lot on its own. Yes, it does. Now, I could see why they would lawyer up if the police were pointing fingers at them. But so far, everybody's just, they're zipped up, you know. Nobody knows anything. Even when he was just missing before he was found deceased. The parents had no clue. And there's no phone signal out there, so... but they traced his phone two different ways. Somebody mentioned it. It was called something 360, but they also went on his Snapchat. Like another friend went on a Snapchat, or his family went on a Snapchat, and they could see where the phone was, and that's how they made it to the address that was on land. And nobody seemed to, you know, be able to turn it over right away. Same thing with the keys. They didn't know where they were, and then they called someone who said, oh, they're on the Xbox or wherever they were. Like, the whole thing is just really sus. And I also heard that his wallet was on board, but I haven't heard anything further about the wallet yet. So where was his wallet? Because he did drive to get to the friend's house before he got on the boat. So where was his wallet the whole time? You know, did he leave it in his car? Did he have it on the boat? I don't think he would have it in his pocket if he was swimming. Respect says, if you are innocent, then you just don't run and find a lawyer because you're scared before anything has been done. Exactly. See, that made the Ramsey suspicious. For those of you old enough here to know about that case 30 years ago, the parents lawyered up right away. But that's because their friends were like, you need to lawyer up right away, because the police were pointing fingers at them immediately. So, you know, if I were in their shoes, I would lawyer up too, you know, in the Ramsey case. But this case, why are the parents hiring lawyers for all these kids? What's the deal? Lawyers cost money. A lot of money. Wow, 17 people. I've been in here for 17 minutes and I've got 17 people. That's an average of one person per minute. That's crazy. And then yesterday, the channel subscriber number went down, which, you know, goes up and down, but over time it goes up. But not yesterday. Lost like 5. Didn't gain those back yet. This is a very slow crawl, people, to 4,000. If you're not subscribed to me, please subscribe. And if you're not into true crime, there's plenty of other videos here to watch. Just go to my playlist on the main channel page. Well, I guess this case is not as interesting to the general population as to compared to Nancy Guthrie, but you know, Nancy Guthrie, we just don't have any new information yet. If he accidentally drowned and everything was an accident, then they should not be acting the way they are. I agree with that. I was asking where they, Nolan Wells' friends, are just friendly. What? Oh, do you mean these 3 boys that he was with? Are they your friends, or are they just friendly? Well, apparently they weren't his best friends. Hey, Melinda Russell, where are you coming in from? And his best friend said he would never have gone out to that island with that group and not come back with the same group that he left with. And his parents said the same thing, that they actually taught him that. Like, if you go in a group, you stay with the group. And his best friend, who he was raised with in Mississippi, agrees with that. That, yeah, he would have never said, oh, I'm just going to stay behind and catch another boat. You know, other kids do that, but he wouldn't have done that. And if he did decide to do that, because he met this pretty girl, you know, he would have asked for his keys and his cell phone. you know, oh yeah, you just go back to shore without me and keep my wallet and my keys and my phone. Like, that doesn't sound right. Sandy P. Where are you coming in from, Sandy P? I have so many Sandys. It's hard to keep you guys all straight. The Sandys and the Susans and the Suzannes and the Sues. You're from Rhode Island, Stuart Hunter? You're not going to believe this, my friend. Guess where I was born? I'll give you one guess, Stuart. For real. Never lived there, but was born there. Respect says, I suspect foul play. I do too, Respect. Sandy says, you're from California. That's where I'm at. But I'm very interested, Stuart. Wow, Navy base? No. But you're close. My dad did work at a shipyard, submarine yard in Connecticut. I believe it's Groton. And they built Navy submarines. That's why he was there. And we were living in southeast Connecticut, out in the country. And that was the closest hospital was in southern Rhode Island. General Dynamics. You got it, Stuart. Are you a younger person, Stuart, or an older person? And that's how we did get to a Navy base in California, which we were supposed to be at for 6 months. And you're 64. Okay, so you're definitely old enough to know. Yeah, my dad was on a submarine program there. And then there was some top secret stuff that went on regarding the Vietnam War. And that's how we came to California with a whole group of other people from Connecticut, with the intention of going back. But yep, he worked at Electric Boat. You got it. See, now I know you're from Rhode Island. You know, there's a guy that I watch on YouTube, and I only started watching him because he's from Rhode Island, and I wanted to see what my state looks like, because the last time I saw it, I was in the 6th grade. That was a long time ago. Leanne Rayner says, Life 360 is the app used to track Nolan Wells after his disappearance. Yes, I heard them say, because somebody else said that to me here. It might have been you or someone else when I did the first Nolan Wells video. And it said that the phone was on LAN, but then they also went through Snapchat. Rhode Island is beautiful. I agree, because I've been watching this Rhode Islander YouTuber, and he's often in Rhode Island, sometimes Massachusetts or Connecticut, but I've seen mostly Rhode Island. And I was like, oh, wow, you know. I mean, I did travel to Rhode Island and Connecticut a couple of times when I was a young child, but one time I was only in the 2nd grade, and the other time I was in the 6th grade. And then we did move back to the East Coast when I was like in my later teenage years before I moved back to California. But, you know, I spent a lot of time we lived in Maryland, and my bestie was in New Jersey. And so I spent a lot of time in like Philly, New Jersey, Maryland, went back to New York a couple of times. But I have not been in my home state since literally I was 12 years old, I think. And I'm old as dirt now. But I do enjoy watching this one particular YouTuber, just because he's driving around all the time in Rhode Island, and I kind of get a feel for it now. And I guess Providence is the big city there, well, for Rhode Island. But see, I live in a city, not a county, but a city in California that's larger than the state that I was born in, which is mind-bending. So welcome in, Stuart, and thank you for subscribing. I hope you've clicked that bell icon. Yeah, I just saw the number went up to 3666. Wow, that's interesting. See, I love meeting people from all over, from state to state and A lot of different countries come in here, although I haven't seen any of my other countries today come in. And I have people from all over the world. I haven't seen my Canadian friends, my Aussie friends, my New Zealand friends, my European friends, my Israel friends. Like, I guess this is not a big, maybe this case is big in the United States, Nolan Wells, but maybe it's not as big as like the Nancy Guthrie case as far as an international audience. But thank you, Stuart. Wow, that's so awesome. Mostly Dallas helicopters. There's my Canadians. Coming in with the first super chat of the day. And the clock is almost running out. Thank you so much. Let me give you a heart on my desktop screen, and everybody else give Mostly Dallas helicopters a thumbs up on the first super chat of the day. Canadian $2. Suzanne, hello. Ash Cash, are you back? Did you leave? Nice to see you again, Mostly Dallas helicopters. Are you guys still on fire? Yeah, I hear a lot of people in the Midwest and the East Coast are complaining about the smoke from the Canadian fires, but we should be out there helping you guys. You guys always help us. Oh, you just woke up. Okay. Yeah, I'm tired because I got up early today because I was worried about my friend. If you didn't see yesterday's video, yeah, I wasn't going to do a live yesterday, but then I felt the need to go on and talk to somebody. The smoke smelled like burning plastic yesterday. Are you in Ontario, Mostly Dallas helicopters? Remind me, because I have several Canadians that come into this chat. Yeah, it seems like Alaska and Canada burn every summer now, like it's just becoming routine. And here in California, we don't even have a fire season anymore as far as a season. It just happens all the time. She is in the hospital. I haven't talked to her today because she was under anesthesia, but I've talked to her son and her daughter multiple times, and I've actually got the report from the doctor with the pictures from her procedure. She probably hasn't seen them, but I've seen them, and they were able to stop the bleeding. And so that's brought up her vital signs, and she hasn't needed any more transfusions. So I guess depending on how she does, there's a possibility that she could get out of that hospital very, very soon. I was going to go on here earlier, but because I'm in between Dodger games. The Dodger game was rained out yesterday, which would have been a great distraction for me, but they started it early this morning, and so I did see part of that. But then there's another one that's on national TV that starts after 4, I believe. So I wanted to handle everything with her, make sure she was good, find out the exact diagnosis. She's like a cat with 9 lives, I guess. For whatever reason, we're both still here. And it's not like we're 80 years old, but, you know, she's quite a bit older than I am. But she hasn't been through stage 3 cancer, so, you know. I have that argument with her that I used to have with my friend Kelsa as to who will go first. But we don't like to, you know, talk about that too much. We try to be more positive. So I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm feeling more tired because at least yesterday before this happened, you know, I was still sleeping and didn't know until I woke up. But today I just, you know, I've been up like worrying about it. Hey, Nanette, welcome in. Boy, we have such a small audience today. What is going on? I appreciate everybody that's here. Jules says she is a cat with 9 lives, too. I definitely am, but, you know, I think I'm on life 8.5 at this point. Who benefits most from this? From what? From Nolan Wells possibly drowning in the ocean? What are you talking about? I'm a little confused today. Is there like is somebody like JLR on the air right now, or what's going on? I'm not seeing very many people here. I wish I had more to report on Nancy, but nothing, nodding. Oh, well, we're not talking about Nancy today, David. We were talking about Nolan. Nanette sent the sparkles. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Okay, this thing has to stop flashing at me. Okay, I have to reset that goal, or it'll just, every so many minutes, it'll pop up on my screen, and then it's distracting to my eyes. Especially with my vertigo sometimes, like, I don't like things that are like flashing and popping up, like, except for the jewels. But those are fun. So apparently we're supposed to hear soon about these autopsy reports, but I don't really buy that in the press because I know from being a PI that it can take months and months and months to get toxicology reports. Oh, the World Cup, that's why. Duh. Okay. Something's going on in the world right now because there's nobody here. I don't mean nobody, but for a Sunday afternoon, there should be a lot. Is this the difference in popularity between the two? Well, it sure looks like that. But I think Lori Smith may have hit the nail on the head. World Cup. How you doing, Lori? Thanks for coming in. She's one of my pips. And now my pips, instead of being level 1, 2, and 3, you're either silver, gold, or platinum. The World Cup wins. Absolutely. Soccer's just, it's not as big in the U.S. as it is the rest of the world, though. Jay says your TV is always off. Yep, mine was on earlier to see the Sportsnet LA that I have bought through MLB app, but I don't have MLB app. I just have like a small portion of it. But then the doubleheader, the other game, is going to be on network television on NBC and Peacock. And that's one of the channels that don't get very well. So I'll be turning that on. But I'm just trying to like, whew, from yesterday. And I'm still waiting for my friend's daughter to call back because she was just coming in out of her procedure. Wow. How's Roger doing, Jay? Yeah, I must have come on at the wrong time or something. I'm like, is YouTube broken today? Or like, what's going on? I'm not seeing my regulars. Nothing worth watching. Don't watch sports. Used to watch basketball for conversation topics. Okay. I haven't watched basketball in a long time. And, you know, we got the Lakers here, and they're like, you know, they're such an amazing franchise. But, you know, my life just focuses around staying alive in baseball. He's working. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that makes sense because it's Sunday. Okay. Yeah. Because I think you told me what he did for a living, right? I'm not going to say it publicly here, but yeah, I know. Like, duh. Okay, yeah, he would be working today. You know what? Just before I went on the air, I heard something like that, and I know that the Juice was on, and I went over to his channel for just a moment, but he was just walking down a sidewalk. So, does anybody here, besides Nanette, or Nanette, can you tell me or tell the chat what happened today? I just heard downtown Tucson, but I don't know like how many people or how many victims. That's true, David. Seems that the stations that you want have the worst reception, while the stations that you hate come in loud and clear. Yeah. That's the way life is, isn't it? So do you know any details about it, Nanette? And you're up in British Columbia, right? Yeah, I can't switch apps either in the middle of the live. So if anybody knows anything about that and they can type it in the chat, feel free to do so. Since we don't really have like any huge news on Nolan or Nancy today. I'm always sad to hear that. Because it can happen anytime, anywhere. My high school was one of the first ever where there was a school shooting in like in history. I don't think it was probably the first, but it was one of the first, and I almost walked in on it, and it changed my life. And it's probably why I'm here now as a private investigator. But now it's so like common, and it shouldn't have to be. You have to worry every time you leave the house. If they're getting better news in Canada, then we need better news media. Yeah, but it's not like I don't have any cable. I'm not watching like CNN. And if you try it on the phone, it just says you have 1 minute. Okay, it just says Spain. I didn't turn off my notifications because my friend's at the hospital, but I just got a pop-up that said Spain dominates Argentina to win first men's World Cup in 16 years. Worry about your kids in school, yes. But what's going on in Arizona? Does anybody know? Yeah, I can, but it's hard for me to see my screen with the setup I have. So if anybody knows in the chat, let me know. What has happened in Tucson? Hey, Rose. Let's see what I see. All I'm seeing here on the background in the computer says Tucson downtown shooting, 10 critically injured after gunman opens fire. Then KOLD, the title says leaders respond after 9 shot in downtown. I know, doesn't it seem that way, Jay? David Thompson says, my sister lives in Tucson and she doesn't know. Well, that's interesting that she lives in Tucson. What does your sister think about Nancy Guthrie, David? 9 were shot, including the suspect, making it 10. Hey, Kathy Doherty. Now I'm hearing that it was Sunday morning. What happened? And did the shooter try to take himself out, or did the police shoot the shooter? Like, what's going on? Downtown Tucson on a Sunday morning, that's just ridiculous. Well, it's ridiculous wherever it happens. Tucson is sounding like the Wild Wild West lately, isn't it? I think the Nancy Guthrie case has just brought attention to like everything, but there's crimes everywhere, and there's shootings everywhere too, sadly. A law enforcement at 2 a.m. and pew-pews him. Okay. So it happened in the middle of the night? Your sister's completely in the dark about Nancy. The news service is worse than the national news. Hi, Brian. Oh, were these people like out, at a restaurant or a bar or something? It's not a big story here right now in LA. I didn't see any pop-ups on my phone today about it, as the bars close. Sad. And that can be devastating, when you survive a shooting like that, but you're critical because people can be paralyzed, people can lose limbs, people can have internal organs that are permanently injured and lifelong disabilities. It's a horrible thing for someone to have to go through something like that. The suspect was treated until taken with life-threatening injuries. David says, this is the first I've heard of it. And you're the one who has a sister in Tucson. Where are you at, David? Yeah, I hadn't heard about this. I mean, I did a little bit before I came on the air because I saw that DeJuice was on, and he had something in his video title about it. And I was like, what? Like, what's going on? And then I opened up, his channel and listened to the commercials first. And then he was I couldn't see him because he was like walking down a sidewalk, and I guess he had like a selfie stick or, tripod or something, and he's just walking down the sidewalk, and he was just like chatting with his audience. So I don't know what happened. They're not saying what the cause is yet. Okay. Oh, you live in California. If it wasn't for DeJuice, I wouldn't even have known that something had happened. And he's usually been on in the middle of the night. Like, he came on like 3 or 4 in the morning yesterday, or at least that's when I got notified. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this again. Oh, Nanette says she just heard after DeJuice was live, or went live. Okay. Terrible. So it sounds like the guy, like he pew-pewed 9 people, and then law enforcement pew-pewed him back. But so far, everybody is still alive, but they're critical. Terrible. Just terrible. What kind of a world do we live in today? I mean, I've dealt with this since high school because I almost walked in on one of the first high school or school shootings ever in the United States. That's what reporters are saying right now. Okay, Nanette, thanks for letting us know. Yeah, I wish we had some news on Nancy Guthrie or even more news on Nolan Wells. The gun did it and the one holding the gun is innocent? No. Wow, this is a rough crowd today. this will be one of my worst watched videos ever. But I appreciate all those that have come in. I know, Jay, right? Not at all. And if you're wondering what my background is today, my green screen, that is Horn Island, Mississippi, which is technically in Jackson County, although that's in Mississippi Sound in the Gulf of Mexico. But that's all there is. Did I see the new photos of Nolan Wells? He allegedly was on another boat. No, I did not. Yeah, it does look beautiful. I was on my way out there, as I said in my first Nolan Wells video once with my California friends, and we couldn't even see the island. When we were, I'm not saying like from shore we couldn't see it, but being in the boat, in the water, on our way out there, couldn't see nothing. And then there were squalls, and so the guy turned around and went back into the bayou, kind of where like the river dumps into the ocean. So you've got that, it's kind of like Mobile Bay and the Mobile River, where it dumps into Mobile Bay, and then Mobile Bay dumps into the Gulf of Mexico. And you know, you kind of have an area where there's a mixture of salt water and fresh water, and you can have an alligator and a shark in the same body because it's like right on the border. So we made a U-turn back into that. That was the same bayou where the alleged alien abduction occurred when I was only in the 3rd grade, I think. That's an incredible story in itself. But yeah, it does look pretty. I'm just not a boat person, you know. Gatorade and shark would be fun to watch. Oh, okay. Like, what? That's so funny. I was like, what? Autocorrect. Autocorrect times 3. I know what you're saying. A gator, alligator, and a shark. Yeah, I remember that day too. I was just a little kid, but I remember because when we were in that little bayou, they had like a sensor on the boat when something big would go under it, and something huge went under our boat, and we were so scared. At least I was, because I didn't know if it was an alligator or a shark. Either way, it was almost as big, if not bigger, than our boat. And I was like, oh my God. I never wanted to go on that boat trip, but my friend Stephanie, she begged me to go. And then when we got on the boat, the dad was like, oh, we're going to Horn Island. And I thought, oh, geez. Hope you don't mind, but how's your friend? Oh, I mentioned it earlier, but she's still in the hospital. She had a procedure today, and they were able to stop the bleeding. I've not spoken to her yet because when I was trying to reach her, she was in surgery. And then the next time she was coming out of surgery, and I could hear her speaking in the background, telling one of the nurses, like, oh, that's my daughter. But I did talk to the daughter and the son. In fact, I have her medical report, and her vitals are coming back, and they have stopped the bleeding. So she's on the mend for now. Regardless, I don't like water. I'm a water baby, but, you know, I was born in the ocean state. Grew up in water. I mean, I got the largest ocean in the world 20 minutes from me, but oh, I'm not in the water like I was as a child. How I survived the deep south as a child between alligators and sharks, it's just baffling. Yeah, Kathy says she doesn't do boats. I don't mind a lake or something. I mean, I'm too old now, but yeah, I don't mind, you know, as a kid, you know, going out on the lake or whatever, but I've never felt comfortable being out in an ocean. You know, I wouldn't be one of these people that could be out on a cruise ship. Thank you, Nanette. In fact, as soon as I get off the air, I'll give them another call. the daughter was supposed to call me back. That's why I don't have the notifications turned off for this live, in case they do try to call, and then I'd have to get off the air and answer right away, because I want to have the latest update. But I think the prayers have definitely helped. But continue those prayers. Because they fixed it, but I'm not sure that they know exactly what caused it. Kathy says cruises are fun. I wanted to go as a child, and my mom told us that we could go, and my dad said no, because my mom wouldn't have been able to go with us. Oh, my mom did not like it. She lost a friend as a child to water and transferred fear to me. You know, I don't know if you know the story, Jay. I'm sure you know who Natalie Wood is. When she was a child and she had already started her movie career, and she was like a really famous child actor, her mom went to a psychic, but like a gypsy psychic, and asked her if she would continue to remain famous, or because most kids that are famous as children are not famous when they're adults. And so she went to a psychic, a gypsy psychic. Her mom was Russian, and she went to a gypsy psychic who said, oh yeah, like she's gonna be famous the rest of her life, but she will die young because she will drown. And the mother believed the psychic, even though most psychics are full of it, but the mother believed it. And she spent her whole life warning Natalie not to get anywhere near water because she could drown. And her sister Lana, and I've never met her, but I've seen her, and I know a lot of people that know her. She said that she was so fearful of water that she often would not go into her own swimming pool in her home in Beverly Hills. When she lived in Beverly Hills with Robert Wagner, before she moved out of the haunted house, and I actually have a video on if you guys haven't seen that. The house that Natalie Wood's parents built when she was just a little girl. That's close to me, and it's you know, got a long, long history of being haunted. And you should see that video if you haven't. But yeah, Natalie Wood's mom just scared her for life, like, stay away from water because you're going to drown. And how did Natalie Wood die? She drowned. And I'm afraid that this may be the situation with Nolan Wells. They'll say that he drowned, but how did he drown? What are the circumstances around his drowning? Like, you know, I think Natalie Wood's was, what, 1982? That was 43, 44 years ago. Murdered short life, married to Robert Wagner twice. Yeah. You should see my video then, Jay, if you know about all that. Like, you should see the video I have on the haunted house. You are at the best news agency we have had today. Thank you. I feel like I don't have much to talk about today. Natalie was very sus. You mean her death or Natalie herself? I remember that in the film she did with Robert Redford, and he threw her in the water not knowing she feared water. Oh, I didn't know that. Hobble one. YouTuber almost hit by a car. Sheriff shows up immediately, but YouTuber didn't want to press charges. Oh, you mean in the Nancy Guthrie case? Yeah, I saw when that happened. I actually saw that live. Yes, her death was sus. Okay. Oh, you did watch it. Thank you. Love haunted house stories. Yeah, that's so close to me. I just haven't driven up there yet. I'd love to have somebody drive up there with me. It's not far by the crow's flight at all. It's just, you know, it's going up the Hollywood Hill and taking all the windy roads to get up there. And, you know, considering that one of the people in the video still lives there, supposedly, you know, I don't want to be hanging out in front of Beverly D'Angelo's house like, hey, here I am, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm filming your house. Like, you know, I don't want to. Invade her privacy. Yeah, that video was hard to make and hard to edit, especially since I didn't go up there to make it. So I've meant to get up there, but, you know, 17 hospital visits later, here I am. that was the video that I was like, gosh, if I had an editor, I could be in business, because I have the right material and the right ideas, but I need an editor for long form videos. Just go out and take all the video and then send it to somebody and say, here. But you know, that costs money to do that, to have somebody put it all together. And then I would feel like, well, it's not really my work, but you know, movie directors, they do it all the time. They hire editors. Yeah, I enjoy that. The history behind that it's incredible. Oh, wish you could fly out to see you and skulk around the cool places and hear stories. There's so much around me. I live near the Brady Bunch house, and that's the haunted house up on the hill. Dan Aykroyd lived in that house. Cass Elliot lived in that house, but it was actually built in the 50s by Natalie Wood's parents. And it doesn't really fit in because it looks like a New England-style country house, as I've said in the video. And it looked very similar, too, to the house where the Manson murders happened. Because, I mean, there was two of those, but not the one in Los Feliz, but the one in Bel Air. Well, it's Los Angeles, but it was right on the edge of Beverly Hills, but in specifically Bel Air. That house that used to be there before it was torn down was very similar. And one of the victims that got it that night on Cielo Drive actually lived on the property behind the haunted house that we're talking about. And they say, you know, if you die young or you die unexpectedly, you weren't ready to go yet, it wasn't your time, and then something like that happens, that you go back home. So there's all kinds of creepy stuff going on around that house. The one that's not the one that was torn down, but the house that I made the video on. And that whole neighborhood, like that Cielo neighborhood, oh my God. There's so many people that say that their houses are haunted because of that. Because those souls are like, they're stuck in time. Very sad. Well, thanks for watching it, Jay. You know, there was a house in Studio City that I actually considered buying, but it was up for sale about 6 months to a year before I was ready to make my first purchase. And it was the Malcolm in the Middle house. And it was old. It would have needed a lot of work, but I knew it had a brand new roof because they did a roof scene where some of the shingles got damaged and the production company had to pay to put an entire new roof on that house. So I was like, well, it is an old house, but at least it's not going to leak, because the Malcolm in the Middle production company had to put a brand new roof on that house, and that had saved me $10,000, $20,000 right there. And it's such a popular neighborhood and such a popular street. It's one of the most beautiful streets in Studio City. It's like, and south of the boulevard. So it was like, you know, I could just do some cosmetic stuff and make the curb appeal really nice. And I could resell it, because someone will bring the wrecking ball out there and, you know, smash the place to a billion pieces. And a week later, they'll be putting up a brand new 2-story contemporary. They call it like a McMansion. It's like a mini mansion. And that's happening a lot in the Hollywood Hills. And, you know, but I didn't have any family to be able to help me and give me a deposit. And that property is worth millions now. Like, that would have been the best investment I could have ever. I was so close. I was just like, if it's just like 50 grand cheaper, I think I could swing it. And then the house that I ended up buying actually cost more than what I paid for the Malcolm in the Middle house, the house I bought in the Brady Bunch neighborhood. And now it's gone. And they just did a reboot of that show, but they did it in Vancouver because the Studio City house is no longer. And I'm like, I should have bought that. Oh my God. Even if I just held it for a year and then just dumped it, you know. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Good night, Rose. Maggie. Hello, April and the Pips. World Cup champs, Spain. Yeah, apparently there was nobody coming in, and it was Lori that came in and said, "Oh, it's World Cup," and I'm like, "Oh, that's it." Nanette says, like the Whaley House in Old Town San Diego is one of the most haunted in San Diego. Oh, I haven't heard of that. Jace has never experienced anything haunted, even with my mom's urn waiting for me in the corner of the living room. Well, I have experienced those things, Jay, and when my friend Kelsa passed away, like, if that kind of stuff freaked you out, you wouldn't want to be in my place, because she was here. They tore down the Bewitched house. Oh, that actually wasn't a house. That's just a facade. That's right down the street from me. That used to be the Columbia Ranch facility, and then it was the Warner Ranch facility. In fact, my friend, who is the mother and grandmother of all these famous people, she lives like a block away from there. And about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago, they completely flattened the Warner Ranch facility. And now there's brand new, gigantic sound stages. I don't know if they've opened them yet. I'm sure they're still empty. Quentin, the second super chat of the day. That only took 61 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Let me go back to my screen here so I can thumbs up that. Everybody give Quentin Broom a thumbs up on the second super chat of the day. So yeah, that's right down the street from me, and that's history. Because that, when it was, you got to realize the studios in this town, the ownerships, the name changes, they're all like connected through history, and everything just swaps around. So that was formerly the Columbia Ranch facility, and there was the Bewitched house, there was I Dream of Jeannie, there was the Partridge Family house, even though the Partridge Family didn't even film in the Valley. They filmed in Hollywood, but the Partridge Family house, Bewitched, Lethal Weapon, Christmas Vacation, the Friends Fountain was in there. They used to do some on-location stuff for Drew Carey over there. Apparently all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which I've never seen, were done there because my friend's kids used to hang out there while her daughter Ashley was over there doing Growing Pains. That's all been like just flattened, and apparently it was not only was it old, but it was termite infested. But it was like an entire like city over there. And now there's these huge sound stages, which I pass every time I go to my local grocery store. In fact, it's right next to a former pet rescue where I got two of my cats, because one of my cats, Alfie, who was my top performing video, even though it wasn't a YouTube video, it was just something in my phone, and I put it on YouTube just to save it, and then my YouTube just it started to like grow because it had like 50,000-60,000 views. He was rescued at the little shopping marketplace that's right next to the ranch facility, and they've just redid that shopping center as well around the same time that they bulldozed the ranch facility, and now that shopping center is called the Ranch. Because before in this neighborhood, when you would say the ranch, you meant the ranch facility, formerly Columbia, then Warner Ranch facility, but now they're going to call it something else. And the ranch is the little shopping center next door to it, where my little Alfie was rescued, and I had him for 14 years. So I have a lot of connections to that place. And with all the studios that I've ever worked at, never once did I ever have a gig where I had to go to the ranch facility. And that just makes me so sad, like, because I've been there 1,000 times over, on all sides of it. But, and it's technically in Burbank, but I'm just like over the border. So yeah, that house was Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, the Partridge Family house, the Lethal Weapon house, the Christmas Vacation house. That was all like just behind me. My friend was over there with her daughter on Growing Pains, and ended up buying a house right behind it. And Like, that's how I met that family, because we're neighbors and we met through one of the neighborhood apps. And like, there's just so much history around here between Universal, which is down the street from me. In fact, the neighborhood that I live in, there's a little controversy right now because Universal, which should just be like a movie theme park, has become like, they're trying to become like a Six Flags or something like that. And they built one of the biggest roller coasters in the world that is literally sitting up on the hill, and you can see it from my neighborhood. And apparently it's not open yet, but they've been doing sound tests. They've been having, and I don't know where they're getting these people, if they're taking them from the theme park, but they've been doing test rides, and the noise level is so loud near Toluca Lake that they're having to redesign this ride because during the testing phases, the neighbors near Toluca Lake are like, I can't take the noise from that. And it's weird to go down these streets and just see this monstrosity of this roller coaster sitting up on the hill. Like, but I wouldn't be able to hear it at my place, but still, it's just like, that's a big story around here right now, is the ranch facility and, the reconstruction of new sound stages, which Warner will rent those back, but from a private company. And then, so yeah, it all, not just Bewitched, Kathy, but it all got flattened, which is sad. It's because it's Hollywood history. Your girlfriend from decades ago visits me often. Very real. It's very real. And with my friend who died, she was so famous and knew so many people and lived in another country before she lived here. I wasn't looking for something like that to happen, and it didn't just happen like once. I mean, it went on for more than a year. So that kind of made me feel a little better about my own medical situation and my future. And, because there's always that, like, well, what's going to happen and when's the hammer going to drop next? Because I kind of know that, when it's over, the only thing that's really over is the body that we are in right now, and that there's much more on the other side. You love Bewitched. My friend Carol, she was a Bewitched fanatic. And one day I was at a Hollywood show. I might have been there with my friend Stacy. I'm trying to remember, because it was the one that was before they moved out of Studio City. And which one was it? Because I've been to so many of them, but not lately. I met Erin Murphy, who plays Tabitha, or played Tabitha, and she was a really cool person. And I'm like, one of my closest friends out here is a Bewitched fanatic. Let me get a photo, and I'm going to give it to her. And she just she was so happy, she almost cried, and she hung it. She had just had a baby, and she hung that in her baby's room, and she was so like starstruck that I had met Erin Murphy. And I'm like, oh, I've seen her like lots of times. Like, she's just like us, she's just a regular girl. And but yeah, I mean, I watched it too, but I was like super young, but I did watch that show. It had some great character actors on that show for sure. You have photos, says Nanette, at the Whaley house. Oh, wow. Oh, you're the one that lives near San Diego, right? Or why did I say you lived in British Columbia? I'm getting confused. There's so many people that tell me where they're at. Leave It to Beaver House. I don't know where that one is. Was that on that lot too? I don't know. Hey, Kelsers. Quentin Broom says, Larry Hagman. Yeah, he's no longer with us. I liked him on Dallas, though. Oh, you were going to be on a show for MGM? I worked at MGM in the 50s, some show that was going to be a Little Rascals type show, but my dad pulled me out because he didn't trust directors. Oh, wow. Montgomery also in 1973 horror film. You know, she used to live on the same street as when I worked at the Peter Lorre estate in a PI firm. And I've seen her husband before. She was married to, what was his name? Robert Foxworth? He was a good-looking dude in person, let me tell you. Hello, Jason. No, that I never met Barnaby Jones, and that didn't influence me in becoming a detective. Oh, yeah, okay. Then who do I know in British Columbia that's got a similar sounding name? Oh, Larry Hagman was on I Dream of Jeannie back in the day, yes. I went to Black's Beach in La Jolla in the early 80s. Let's see. Same lot as Bewitched? Absolutely. Now, that's not where they filmed the show. That's just where they filmed, like, the exterior shots. And those houses were not full houses, kind of like the Walton's house, which is also close to me. And I've worked on that back lot many times, but never saw the house. That just sat right underneath Mount Toluca. And it's just a facade. And it's been moved on the Warner lot. It's been moved around a couple of different times. But there was a wardrobe room within that facade. And then there was a staircase where they had the windows where they'd be like, "Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen." You know, but it was just the facade that had limited wardrobe space because they actually had 2 sound stages on the same lot. That's how big their show was, that they actually occupied 2 stages. That's mind-blowing to me. No one else could be J.R. Ewing except Larry. Exactly. Yeah, Roseanne was filmed down the street from me. In fact, I worked with somebody that was on that show when I was on Saved by the Bell. And yeah, that was on Studio. It was actually filmed in Studio City, but the house is Evansville, Indiana. Yes, that's true. Although it took place in Illinois. And so many of the actors on that show were actually from Illinois, which is incredible. I know, Lee Majors is still alive. I've never seen him, but I saw Farrah several times. Has anybody ever heard of Pfeiffer Beach in Lower California? Never. It's not around here. I'm in Los Angeles. I know all the beaches in LA. Definitely not here. Unless that's like a autocorrect typo or something. No such beach in my part of Southern California. Now, San Diego, I couldn't really comment on. Because I usually don't get down there too much unless it's for work. But, you know, not anymore. Yeah, there's a lot of history around here, Jay. That would be cool. Like, oh, you know, here's the Brady Bunch house, and here's like, I'd love the Malcolm in the Middle house, even though it's not there anymore. And of course, in my neighborhood, I have, and there's a video on it. If you go to my video tab, or just go to my holiday playlist, there is the second Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house, and it's walking distance from me. Yeah, where is Kathy Mowery, Maggie? Does anybody know? How is Kathy? And where is she? I haven't seen her in like a week or 2. At least. Oh, it's in Big Sur? Oh, that's in Central California. Okay. Yeah, Maggie, where is she? Hobble one. I was 20 feet in front of Leonard Nimoy when he wore the headband to hide his ears in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, and I'm on the set of The Candidate with Robert Redford beach scene. I'm in the background. Oh, cool. I thought she was visiting with her son. It's been a while. Yeah, I was hoping, like, maybe she just found another channel to watch or something. I hope she's okay. Like, she's not, like, sick or something or in the hospital. Because she would come in here all the time. She was, like, a huge channel supporter, too. So, I asked that before a couple times. Does anybody know where Kathy Maurer is? Because I know people come and go, but, I haven't heard a word. Don't know what's happened to her. And I have no way to contact her. Like, I don't have her email address, I don't think. And I'm not connected with her through, like, social media. I mean, I know she lives in Missouri, but that's all I know. Yeah, you said that before, Hobble. When the Bay Area should have a big news network like New York City. So much action in the Bay Area. Just plain wrong. Yeah. Hey, Evan. Where are you coming in from? Evan Cat fan. Yeah. I don't know what's happened to her. If anybody knows, let me know. Send me an email. aprildavispi@gmail.com. Grandson and I are watching tonight. Made queso and bean burritos. My grandson loves watching your channel because you remind him of his what? Oh, his mom? Oh, I didn't know that. And she's deceased. I'm sorry. Oh, you're in Nashville, Evan. Welcome in, Nashville. Are you subscribed, Evan? We'll say some prayers, but hoping she's only having fun with family. Yeah, I haven't seen her in a while. And like I said, she always, she was a channel member. She was always throwing out the super chats, and sometimes she would help me. Like, she would be a temporary mod for me, like when things got crazy. And yeah, she was like one of my top people, and she just like disappeared. Not a word. P679Y. You bring a bright light to his day. He even watches the replays. How old is your grandson? Thank you, April, for being so kind. Yeah, how old is he? Because I know you always talk about you guys are watching on a big screen TV, right? You're really sharp to remember that. Remember what? I already forgot. No, I'm just kidding. Seems all news agencies plead the fifth. Oh, he's 12. Okay. And you watch on the big screen in the living room, and you're always cooking some yummy food. Where are you at, P6? I've never heard of that, Hobble One. He of the year. What does that mean? Yeah, if you were here earlier and you want to hear about Nolan Wells, you're going to have to go back to the beginning. There was not a lot to report yet on that. I'm anxiously awaiting the autopsy reports. Oh, you're in Cleveland. You know, I had a really close family friend, and his family moved to Strongsville, which is like a suburb of Cleveland, but I haven't heard from them in several years. You remember when it came on? Oh my gosh. I don't remember that at all when it came on. In fact, a lot of the episodes I saw were probably in syndication. That's pretty close, okay. I know who Janice Ian is, but she was kind of like before my time too. I know she's part of the 27 Club. You were 5. Oh, wow. When did it come on? Like, it was in the 60s, wasn't it? But yeah, I've met the girl that played Tabitha. It was actually she and her fraternal twin sister, but when they got around 2, they started to look different, and so they decided just to use the one. And I can't remember the sister's name. But her sister was originally in it with her. Yeah, I remember that too as a child, but I think the Flintstones I was also watching probably in syndication. Wow, I bet the weather is wild there in Cleveland in the wintertime. My Angelina blood, I probably wouldn't be able to handle the cold there. It came on in 1961? Oh my God. Wow. That's long before I was born. Wow, I didn't know it goes that far back. You know, by the time I saw like Gilligan's Island, that was like in syndication. Because when they did the pilot, there's a scene in the original credits of Gilligan's Island, or if you look at the harbor in Hawaii, where it's in black and white film, there's a flag at half mast because Kennedy had been assassinated. And the flag was lowered when they filmed that opening scene for the intro for the pilot. And so that's definitely before my time. It was on Friday night at 8. I don't even know what network it was on. Yeah, I don't know who Brooke Benton is. It was on ABC. Oh, okay. What about I Dream of Jeannie? What network was that on? Yeah, I see Barbara Eden a lot. But I haven't seen her lately because she's like in her 90s now. I remember hearing about the flag on the pilot of Gilligan's Island. And you know what, Jay? There's a lost pilot. And I had a case, and I can't talk about it at all, but it was connected to the lost pilot of Gilligan's Island. And I was like, what? What lost pilot? I didn't know about it. And I've since seen it because I used to have like, I don't think I have them anymore, but I had like a set of compact discs. No, not compact discs, DVDs. And the Lost Pilot was on there. And I like found that because even though it had nothing to do with when I met Sherwood Schwartz from Gilligan's Island and the Brady Bunch, let's just say I had a big gig one time that was connected to the FBI and the Lost Pilot. And I was like, there's a Lost Pilot? Like, oh my God. It's mind-bending to find that out. Oh, I Dream of Jeannie was NBC. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't know that. Like, oh, you know what? I know Marlowe's brother. I worked for him for years. Tony Thomas. He is the Thomas in Whit Thomas Harris Productions, and then they have a separate entity called Whit Thomas. And Paul Whit is gone now. He was one of the many that passed during my cancer. Paul passed, David Landsberg passed, Valerie Harper passed, a bunch of people I knew from that company passed. But they were the makers of soap, Whit Thomas Harris. So I never met Marlowe, but I definitely met Tony, and I worked on a crap ton of his shows. I did watch that, but I was just like a toddler. And I was probably seeing like repeats. The Honeymooners, I've seen it a little bit, but it was before my time. Hobble One, remember Good Times, and Chico and the Man. Watched them both. In fact, I've met the entire cast of Good Times except for Esther Roll, who had passed, but the entire show. Even, what's his name, Booker? Even him. I've even met Booker. Then Janae Dubois used to call him Booger. And luckily, I got to meet Janae before she passed away. Yeah, I do remember Chico and the Man, but I was really, really young. Norman Lear was for Good Times. Mom would not let me watch soap. I watched it, and I was fascinated that it was created and written by a woman who I have worked for. Never met her, but know her husband, Paul Witt, and he started out, believe it or not, his first gig was the Partridge Family. But then, him and Susan Harris hooked up, and they brought on their producing partner, Tony Thomas, and the rest is history. And I love all of them and I've worked at Susan Harris's house. I've been to Susan Harris's house many times. In fact, she lived next door to some very famous person that we've talked about here many times. But get smart. That's kind of before my time, too. But the lady that played Agent 99, Barbara Feldon, I have actually met her. In fact, I have a picture of us together. I've never met Chuck Norris. I have only seen one episode of Law & Order SVU. The one with Chad Lowe and Margot Kidder. And that was very creepy. Streets of San Francisco. My dad watched that. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I've seen him a lot, played a bodybuilder, serial killer in one episode. I didn't know that. I could watch Days of Our Lives. You know what? That's the soap I said before I know the most people on. It's right down the street from me, and my friend that's on it, she just got nominated for another Emmy. Maybe this time she'll finally win, but the daytime Emmys are very political. I don't know. I'm not in Vegas. General Hospital. General Hospital is filmed at Prospect, and then they used to have a different name for Prospect. It's in near Los Feliz section. It's in East Hollywood. But in the 80s, during the Luke and Laura days, they moved out of that Prospect facility for about 10 or 12 years, and they were over at Sunset Gower. And I've worked on almost every single stage at Sunset Gower for years. And they were in stage 12. And when I was on stage 12, I was doing Empty Nest. And in that exact same stage, backstage, I got hit with a stage door. And it dang near took me out. And they had me sprawled out on the floor. And I didn't know then, when I worked Empty Nest on that stage, that was the General Hospital stage. And it is mind-bending because that's a very small stage. And I'm like, how did they film a soap opera with all those different sets in this teeny little soundstage? That's impossible. Now, there was a tunnel that connected it to stage 14 where I worked nurses in first season of a second season of John Larroquette. Because he moved out of his stage so that The Office with Valerie Harper could move in. I worked on that stage too, stage 7. But stage 12 almost got knocked unconscious on the General Hospital Luke and Laura stage. Barbara Feldon, she is wonderful. I'll find that picture. I can post it up on my community tab like I did my Adam 12 pictures. Or I'm sitting there behind the wheel of the Adam 12 car. She's a wonderful lady. When I met her, she was in her 80s. I think she's still alive. What did I do? Oh, I did armed security on a lot of those shows. But I also did a lot of PI work on TV shows and movies as well. But on Sunset Gower, I also did some investigations there before I actually worked on the lot. But I worked on Blossom, Empty Nest. In fact, it was the nurse shared between Blossom and Empty Nest because it was a Tuesday night show rather than a Friday gig because there weren't enough stages or there's not enough room to do all the shows on one night. So most of the shows filmed on Friday, but then some filmed on Tuesday. And so they split the nurse between Blossom and they alternate every week between Empty Nest and Blossom. And I got knocked out almost, and they had me down on the ground, these police officers that were working with me. And the nurse comes running all the way. Blossom was at the other end of the lot, up near Saved by the Bell and Daddy's Girls with Dudley Moore. And she had to haul her, you know what, and all of her equipment. You know, she's all out of breath. And she's like, oh my God, it's you. And I can laugh about it now, but it wasn't very funny at the time that happened. Barbara Felton is 93. I thought so. Hubble one says, Adam 12. I did watch that with my dad when we lived in LA. And then I saw it again in a hotel in New York City, and I was so upset that we didn't live in New York because they had WOR TV and they had Adam 12. Cannon. I think my dad, he watched all of those. I didn't watch any of them. Cannon, Mannix, Barnaby Jones. Toma, I don't even know what that is. Beretta, I know what that is. Hawaii Five-0, he watched that too. I did watch Emergency. Policewoman and Kojak. Love Blossom. Oh, it was great working on that show. But I did come into that show. I did a little security, like advanced security for season 4. But I didn't come into Blossom until the 5th and final season. But everybody there was great. And Joey was like huge, and like they had to have a lot of extra security because there was always issues. There was always problems because they had their own security from a firm in Philly, which they probably weren't even licensed to be working out here. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on it. But then there was the Witt Thomas Harris security, which that particular show was Witt Thomas. And there was always issues. And, you know, the parents were there, the grandparents were there. Little Andy was there. He was like 6, 7 years old at the time. And then right before they went on to Brotherly Love, which apparently was done on the same stage, which seems like impossible to me because Blossom was one of our smallest of stages. I could see them doing it on the same lot in another stage, but Blossom, we had a very, very tight set. It was security issues were a nightmare on that show because the set was so tight and there were so many people. And little Joey, or not little Joey, but Andy, he was wearing the jeans and the leather jacket with the white T-shirt, and he had the little bowl haircut. It was so cute. Hello, April and Chet. Good to see you all, or y'all. I'm looking at it on my other screen because I haven't caught up to it yet on my chat. So where did this go? We started out with Nolan Wells, and there's only 13 people left. Thank you for the super chat. Everybody give Quentin, or excuse me, Stacks, a thumbs up. I was looking at your comment, Quentin. Yeah, I don't know that one at all, the villain. And Margaret, I've seen her before in Studio City. The Apple Dumpling Gang. Sounds familiar, but I don't know. Blossom makes me sad. Why? That was a great show to work on. Yeah, Finola Hughes from General Hospital was on there. And when I met Kennedy, the girl, her name was Courtney Chase, but I met Courtney and her mom because she was just like 10 or something, because she played Finola Hughes's like little British daughter. And then when, you know, I had to meet her and her mom and they spoke to me, they spoke English, like American English, not British English. And I looked at her mom and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, she's not British? And she's like, no, like, we live in New York. And I was like, oh my God, like, that is a good little actress. And her mom was like, oh, thank you. And she was like the coolest lady. And so was Six's mom. She was really cool. We always hung out with her too. I can't remember her name to save my life, but she was cool. Six's mom, Jenna Von Oy's mom, and little Courtney Chase's mother. And she was just like the perfect little kid. And I was like, where's the British accent? Like, that was acting. Like, they cast an American from New York, and she sounded like a Brit. so she could play Finola Hughes' daughter, which was mind-bending. Michael Landon, I've seen him many times in my life, but I never met him. I've even filmed stuff with him, but never met him. Kinsley, greetings. Die Hard is pretty great. Yeah, Bruce is an old friend of mine. In fact, my Thai friend that's in the hospital, did some work with him. Been to his house many times. Okay, I caught up to Stax's. I've got that far. Michael Landon wasn't on Blossom. Blossom was a sitcom with Ted Wass from Soap. And Michael Stoyanov and Joey Lawrence and Mayim Bialik, excuse me, Mayim. And Jenna Von Oy and Finola Hughes. Michael Landon had nothing to do with Blossom. Did I see Tommy? Yes, I did, but not since I was a little kid. Your daughter looked like Punky Brewster. Oh my God, I know Soleil. I have a video with Soleil. You guys can see it. Her daughter, Poet, did a, you'll see. I did a video with them. We did a march. And it was really hard because it was after my cancer, and thank God Soleil, she bought water for everybody, and I kept just like chugging down the water. I could never do it today with my cane because we were marching. So I did a march with Soleil and all her kids. And the best part of my video was with David Arquette, and that was the part that didn't work because of my my GoPro. And I had 2 of them at the time, and now I have 1, and it's been in a closet ever since because my GoPro failed during the David Arquette footage, which was the best part of my damn video. Michael Landon was a great record-setting athlete, kind of like Bruce Jenner. He partied too much at Hollywood parties and drank way too much. Yeah, I heard that he drank and he smoked. Oh, and Kathy just said and smoked. Yeah. That's a different one. They don't know why the same title. Yeah, we were talking about Blossom, the television show. Yeah, I remember Tommy. I remember playing pinball too. And I love the Elton John version of Pinball Wizard. I like it better than the Who version. People told her all the time. People told. Oh, that she looked like Soleil? Yeah, Soleil, she's still cute as a button. And she's real tiny too, Soleil. Kelsers, I remember my grandma loved I Love Lucy. I've actually worked on some of the stages that I Love Lucy filmed on. And I filmed on those stages when they were Renmar, but they used to be Desi Lu Cahuenga. Yes, I've heard. We talked about it a little bit. I heard just before I came on the air about the mass shooting in Tucson. Your daughter is tiny too. Yes, Soleil, she's really tiny. And her kids are great. Yeah, and that daughter, she's at college now. And when I met them, the day I met them, the oldest was 16. And then there's Jagger, and there's Lyric, and there's Story. It's weird because somebody watched that video the other day. Okay, my battery's going down on this. Somebody watched that video, and I hadn't had any comments on it because that was a number of years ago. That was before the whole heart thing happened, and like some guy came in claiming that he was Story Goldberg. Like, hey, this is Story. I'm Story Goldberg. And his username was that, and his avatar was some adult black male. And I didn't block him, but I didn't respond to him because it's like, yeah, I know Soleil. I've met her, and she wouldn't have her minor children on YouTube posing as an adult black man, claiming like, oh, this is me. Like, no, that's BS. And it was a little creepy to me. Like, there's somebody on YouTube that's, claiming to be her child. Yep, Hobble One, 100% agree with you. Elton John version is way better than The Who. Absolutely, and I love The Who. They're awesome. But that Elton John version is the greatest. And people are crazy. It was kind of like, oh, wow. If I still knew her, like I just met her. I don't know her, like we're not like we're friends. But if I was her friend, I would have alerted her to that. Like, hey, there's some guy coming on my YouTube that's claiming to be your son. There wouldn't be anything she could do about it, but it was just kind of creepy. Respect sent the thumbs up. Jewel, thank you. I'm up to 14 cents today in Jules. I can order dinner today from my Jules. I'm just kidding, you guys. But I'm not kidding about it. It's 14 cents. But they do add up in a month's time. Respect sent the party hat. Now we just gained another 10 cents. Thank you, Respect. You didn't need to do that, but thank you. No, they really do add up in a month's time. And it's funny, the ones that are like 2 cents, then I get a penny, and they just pop up really fast, and it's really tiny on my screen. I can hardly see it. But the ones that are big, that are more expensive, they just like blow up on the screen, and then I can't even see like until they get done dancing around on the screen like who it is that sent them. Kathy said your gifts won't work. Oh, why is that? Kelsers coming in with the April Davis PI custom emojis. And remember, once you get up to the 2-month mark, you can use you can send a special message, like a membership message. I can't wait till somebody does that again, and I can see that because I've changed it now where the members, it'll show that they're a PIP, and there's silver, gold, and platinum levels. Where before, YouTube just said, here's level 1, here's level 2, level 3. And I'm like, there's got to be a way to change that, to customize that. So it's been customized. It says errors. Why don't you sign out, Kathy, and try to sign back in, see if that fixes it. Oh, it says live. Dodgers Yankees on NBC. Is this a World Series preview? That would be cool if it was. I better get ready to go turn that on. Don't want to miss that. But it's going to be through the antenna rather than the earlier game of the doubleheader that was through the app. You're going to throw some steaks on the grill. Sounds good, Kelsers. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for throwing out the custom emojis to one of my pips. You're a member. You're a PI posse member. You're a pip. Be proud of that. No, just... thank you, Kelsers. Oh, it didn't work, Kathy? Signing out and signing in? Well, some of you got... Quite a few people have sent Pips Rule. Absolutely respect importance. Quite a few people have spent or sent the gifts today, the jewels. Did I get it mixed up with Bill Bixby? He was supposed to lead Blossom, but died before it was finished. I thought he wasn't he he was one of the directors, actually. Not when I was on it, but I think earlier on he was a director. I'll have to look that up. But the guy that starred on the show as the father was Ted Wass. He was one of the soap actors. In fact, I worked with at least 4 of those soap actors. And who knew when I was a little kid watching soap that I would work for that company years later in many ways, not just on their shows, but, you know, as a PI and as an armed guard. And so let's see. Richard Mulligan, he was on there. He was crazy on soap. He was on Empty Nest. He was the dad. He played a pediatrician. Dinah Manoff, who played his daughter, she was on soap. Ted Wass, he was on soap. In fact, didn't he or her, they got poo-pooed and killed or something on soap? That was so many years ago. And then, what was the housekeeper's name? I worked with him on, he was our special guest star for the night on one of the Saved by the Bell college years episodes. A black actor, older man, Benson. Robert Guillaume. Yes. So Robert Guillaume, Richard Mulligan, Dinah Manoff, and Ted Wass. Those are the 4 that I can think of off the top of my head. Respect, Important Sin of Sunday. Let's see. Yeah, I think Bill Bixby might have directed some of the earlier episodes. I'll have to look. But he did not star on it. And I do remember that he did pass away. In fact, I'd have to look up who was directing when I was on it, because I was normally on Empty Nest on that night, but then sometimes when there was, you know, extreme emergencies that were happening on Blossom, they're like, can you go over and handle Blossom? And then there was nobody to handle my position on Empty Nest. And then I just got to know everybody, and, you know, it was a younger crowd, and there was the kids, and there were people my age and or close to my age, and then I just started doing Blossom way more than Empty Nest. I don't know anything about that Hobble one. Don't know Lou Antonio on Gunsmoke. Before my time. But I do remember there was a show called Gunsmoke. Yeah, I don't know who Lou Antonio is. Sorry. I don't know anything about Disney's Sleeping Beauty, even though I worked on a lot of their shows. And I've worked on their lot many times. It's a couple miles from where I live, but don't know anything about that. Wow, where did this, you know, how did this change from a Nolan Wells video to all this? But hey, it's a slow news day, except for World Cup. Yeah, I don't know who they are, Quentin. Were they on Gunsmoke? Lane and Lou? Don't know who they are. Spain won it. Yeah, I heard. I didn't see Night Gallery. Your mom saw every episode. What, of Gunsmoke? Or Night Gallery? Lost money on World Cup. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh. Sorry to hear that, Stax. And you still managed to send a super chat. How did you do that? You lost money today. You didn't need to do that, man. Yeah, you did send a super chat. You sent the last one. Gunsmoke was the longest running #1 show. Oh, wow. Didn't know that. I think I was really young when that was on. Because wasn't that like 70s? Wow. Crazy. Boy, I feel so old. The fact that I even know half of these shows that you guys are talking about, I feel old. Too old, Kathy. Too old to answer that question anymore. Your mom watches old episodes of Gunsmoke. Oh, wow. You know, I have a cousin that comes on here, and he said that he and his wife were watching a lot of older episodes. Well, they're all older now, of the Waltons. And I was like, oh, yeah, I watched that when I was a kid. And I told him I knew the guy that was the shopkeeper, the guy that played Ike Godsey, Joe Connolly in real life. But that was like in the 80s I knew him. And then he was all excited about that and said to his wife, like, oh, April knew, like, you know, Ike Godsey. And then I'm like, you know, I think I knew other people on the Waltons too, but that was so long ago. Because the show that I know the most people on is Friends, like the most out of any show, except for the shows that I've worked, obviously. I never worked Friends, but a lot of people I worked with worked Friends. I just know a lot of people that were on Friends, and I'm like, you know, that was so long ago. Let me go through the cast list. And I went through Walton's really quick on IMDb. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that person. Oh, I know that person. Oh, there's another person. And like, I didn't know I knew that many people. Oh, God. A lot. I'd have to go through the list, but probably the top ones, Terry Garr, Bruce Willis. I worked with Jane Sibbett, who played Ross's wife. The one that left him to get married to a woman, and not the one that was in the pilot, but the one that was in the show. Don't know Courtney Cox. The only Friends out of the main cast that I've ever seen is Matt LeBlanc a couple times, but I don't know him. But there's so many, oh God, like Deborah Jo Rupp, Terry Garr, Bruce Willis, Jane Sibbett, who else? Because I went through it. There's a lot of people. It's about probably 20 people. Some I've worked with and some I just like knew. Like Bruce, I didn't work with Bruce, but I knew Bruce. And I was at his house many times with my friend that did some work for Bruce. So like, but no, I don't know Courtney Cox. That would be cool though. Although Courtney Cox doesn't look like Courtney Cox anymore. She's had a lot of plastic surgery and, you know, she didn't need anything like that. And she was fine just the way she is. I don't know who that is. Twiggy. Don't know. Oh, so many of the guest stars I've known on Friends, like. And I'm so glad that Terry got to be, you know, Phoebe Senior. You know, that story arc, and that was a big secret at the time how they were going to do all that. And like everybody involved in that storyline I knew except for the girl that played Phoebe. You had a crush on the freckled-faced girl on the Waltons. Was she their little redhead? Because there were like a couple of redheads on there. Little redheaded girls. Then Ben was a redhead too. Are you talking about Cammie? Yeah, that facade is still there on the Warner lot. It's just, and I've been on that back lot. I've worked there many times, but I've never seen it. And it's moved because they still keep it as part of the Warner Brothers tour. Every big star got to debut on the streets of San Francisco. That's what I hear. I'm wondering if we might have lived out there when that was filmed. I'll have to look at the dates. Did that film while we lived there, or did that... What is on my lip? What is that? What is on my face? She was a very young, pretty young lady. Who, Cammie? The little girl? The youngest? Which girl? You never watched the Waltons? That was a good family show. It was kind of like Little House on the Prairie kind of situation. different time period, but a period piece. The redhead. Well, there were two redheaded girls. There was Erin, who was the middle daughter, and then there was little Cammie, who was Elizabeth. And she was bomb in the movie. You know, because the movie was actually filmed in Studio City. It was filmed on the at Radford. So, and when they filmed that, they had no clue that they were going to later become a TV show. And then it was over at Warner. That was just, it was just supposed to be the movie. It was never supposed to, like, be a show. And one of the most famous restaurants in Toluca Lake, that's near me, the lady that played the grandma, she would show up there sometimes for lunch, and she'd still be in her Walton's costume. Yeah, wearing her 19, 30s, 40s attire, whatever it was at the time. And people got a big kick out of that. But I would have been a little kid then. I wouldn't have been, like, living here at that time. If you're talking about Cammie, she actually lived in my neighborhood, but I've never met or seen her. Funny, after my cancer, I had a big brown splotch. There's a scar on my face. It's right here. I called it and my camera's flipped, but I had a big, like, John Boy mark, and I went into my doctor and said, you got to remove this, even if it gives me a scar, because this is my John Boy Walton, like, brown splotch on my face. And it turned out Richard Thomas is one of his clients. And he'd just been in there, and I'm like, is he here now? Did he hear me say that? Oh my God, Cody Bellinger just singled in the bottom of the first. I got to go watch this game. But that was so funny. Like, I'm here to have my John Boy Walton, brown patch removed. And they're like, oh, Richard Thomas, he's one of our patients. That was so funny. And I'm like, is he in the room next door to me right now? Did he hear me say that? Like, oh my God. LA is a very small world, even though LA is an hour away from LA. I didn't mean that as a knock. And they said his little patch it's much smaller now. Oh, it was so funny. I like John Boy, especially in the movie. The movie was really good. The movie that they did, that Christmas movie that they did, The Homecoming, long before they did the Waltons, the show. You like Mary Ellen? Mary Ellen, my friend Kelsa actually knew her, Judy Norton Taylor. She's got a really good YouTube channel, actually. She's got a really good YouTube channel that's all dedicated to the show. It's really good. Yeah, she was one of the better actors on the show. But Ellen Corby, the grandma, yeah, she used to come over to Toluca Lake, and because that's not far from Warner and, Universal, Warner, Disney, they're all like, right here. And she would come into Patty's. And that's a big celebrity hangout, Patty's, but she would come into Patty's for lunch during a set break, and she'd be in her Walton's wardrobe, and everybody would get a huge kick out of that. I would have loved to have seen something like that, but I wasn't in LA during the filming of the Waltons. I was probably in LA during the movies, because one of my neighbors was Morgan Stevens, who married Aaron's character. I can't remember his character's name, and he was a cutie. In fact, he passed away just before my Canadian friend passed away. And I was telling her about that, and she didn't know who he was. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he was on a lot of things, including the Waltons. He was drop dead gorgeous, Morgan Stevens. Maybe that's how he bought his house in Sherman Oaks, was with the Waltons' money. But he wasn't a regular cast member. He just came in later on when they had all those reunion movies. The show where the car wouldn't start, all I remember, great family show. I don't know what you're talking about. Was that a Waltons episode? Oh, there's been many Walton movies. Yeah, those were all in the 80s. Your dad looked like the Walton father. Oh, well. Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Ben. Good night, Aaron. Good night, Jason. I know. Yeah, I need to go watch the Yankees and the Dodgers, and I need to cook something. Fiery redhead. That's the only way to be a redhead. I don't look very red anymore because of chemo, but my hair's been multiple colors since chemo. Yeah, there was 3 redheads on the Waltons. Little Cammy and Aaron and the girl that played Aaron. I can't think of her name right now to save my life. And Eric Scott, who played Brother Ben. But John Boy, he was a cutie, wasn't he? He was a little old for me when I was watching him on The Homecoming, but he was a cutie. And now I don't have my John Boy patch anymore. Thank God. Like, my poor face has been through so much. Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the jewels. Thanks to those who sent the super chats. I got 74 cents today in jewels to add to those super chats. So he became an accomplished actor. Yeah, he was really good. And so was Michael Learned, who played the mom. She was phenomenal. The parents that did the show, they were much better than the cast that was in the movie, I thought. And the dad on the show was, or the grandpa on the show was Candice Bergen's dad. But the actors that played the parents in the movie, I'm not into them. Okay, I'm gonna go get something to eat. I'm gonna go watch the Dodgers and the Yankees. Game 2. Thanks for coming, everybody.